just let those people know that it's not a failure. You're not a loser if you just get out. You're not a loser if you just like, okay, my instinct tells me to leave. Just leave. It's okay. Nobody's gonna judge you. The only person judging you is those people who are just not kind-hearted people. And why would you want to care about those people when you know you're better people than them? So you just need to believe in yourself, and you'll find other opportunities. If you have those qualities, you'll make it through the business just a pure scan. That quality can transfer to other jobs that are way more legit than this.
So Rosa, you worked for a Credico franchise in Chicago for only a couple months back in 2019. What were you drawn to in your search for work, and what led you to joining this organization?
I think I was looking for a change. Was just like, I feel like I could do something else. And then I was working at a wet department of a clothing store, a local clothing store, and it's a warehouse environment. And I mean, I liked it fine, but I feel like I was looking for more pay, and also just completely different environment that I had not experienced before. So I saw the job posts in several job websites like Monster, Indeed, and several others, and they're kind of like vague, but I was thinking, if I go to an interview, maybe I'll get some more idea. I mean, they all say like event assistant, or like they wouldn't tell you like what company or anything like real like obvious for you to figure out. So I was like, I'll go for an interview. If I get an interview, I go for it, and I will see what happens.
Did you experience any questions, any suspicions based on some of the things you shared, like the vagueness of the job posting? Did any questions ever cross your mind in those early days?
I mean, I had a lot of questions, but the funny thing is like it didn't really have much of a clear clue. So it's not like everything connecting the dots. Everything's kind of like, okay, I feel like I have a question about it, but I feel like I have the answer for it myself, but I kind of didn't. So it's like, when you're kind of like, I wouldn't say I was that desperate for a new job, but I was definitely looking for a change. I guess that was some kind of desperation in the kind of like a psychological sense. Mm-hmm. So like I would just, kind of have a leap of faith and just jump into something new. And I would see funny things, like I always kind of told myself, if it's not working out, I can always just like jump back out and nothing will happen. I just back out, on a job that I don't like, and I would just keep going. Offices there are two other offices there in the city. We're not in downtown Chicago. We're in one of the neighborhoods. We're in Avondale, Logan Square area. And then when I went to interview, it was real strange because there's just a lot of going on. It was like this person doing like interview, it was one person doing like interview to two people at one time. And then the other, it was kind of like a chaotic situation. So, but there was this receptionist kind of sitting there. So I was trying to understand like, hey, who would be the person who interviewed me? And then she was like, oh, just have a seat, we'll call you. Real vague, generic answer. So it's like they wouldn't want to let you know what was exactly going on. So, but at the same time, it didn't put me in a dangerous situation. I need to get out. I wasn't in danger at all. So it's like, okay, well, I just got to go through this process, see what was going on. So kind of more like a curiosity than anything else at the time.
So you said that you were only there for 2 months. And in your words, it was nice to wake up much sooner than later. So what was the reason that, to use your words, you woke up? What was there to kind of discover that led you to only be there for a short amount of time?
It was like people were there because they're so, I mean, I understand it's like people were invested, and I know like in the past videos a lot of people were like their background was like athletes or like people who are into some performance that require like a big dedication, concentration. So people just hang there thinking that, oh, I can be strong enough to hang in this business even though I'm struggling, or some shape or form struggling, like psychologically deprived or financially deprived, whatsoever. But for me, I was like, there's nothing for me to like hold on to. I was able to see a lot of things like real clearly from the get-go. I was there for 2 months, but I had quite a ride. I was actually promoted to corporate trainer within a month, and I was invited to a they call the Top Gun event, which was like for inviting for all the top performers going to. We were in Atlanta, so we had this conference. Pretty much, we just listened to the people, the Credico people. Probably we talked about in the past. Those people like talking about their experience, how they're have been successful in the business. So it's kind of like a brainwashing event. It was all paid for pretty much. But and then but soon after, I think I have a lot of events. I got lucky because I realized there's things just like didn't add up. My owner had some financial issues with the bank. My checks were bounced like twice.
Wow.
I put my check in the deposit like that Friday, got the check, and I put it in the bank. By the following Wednesday, Thursday, I got an email saying, hey, it was, we couldn't draw the fund because it was insufficient in that person's account. So I was like, oh, I never had that situation before, so I called the bank right away and sort it out. And then they bounced it again. But the first time gave me the grace period. The second time, that bank actually charged me. And then, the owner actually, try to save some trouble. So like he will cash out me the money plus like more money on top, like kind of like $20 just for my trouble.
Yeah.
But to be honest, like salary pay with the cash app, it just sounds real shady. It just doesn't add up to me. Luckily I have all the banks pay stubs. A lot of people didn't even have those. Like their check, they didn't give them a pay stub. They just gave them cash app, say this is how much you actually made. So it's like, how can you file the tax, like your tax? How can you even like go on to find other job without showing the proper proof or what, your bank statement, what yours, can you even have a text document to prove that you have worked there?
Yeah.
So it's like, I actually got lucky. I got all the stuff I needed, and I wanted the owner we signed some kind of a contract, and I want the owner to give me a copy of that later, but he was just keep giving me excuses saying, hey, I will get it out. I had to go through my files, and they'll give me like a couple of days and stuff like that. It doesn't make sense. If I want to see a signature, I need, by law, I can just have a right to see it, Yeah. So, for me, it's just like, that's just, I was sad that I gotta lose a job and not having any income, but to be honest, like, spending 12 hours plus a day, and then sometimes not even making much of a income, or like having myself in a situation that we are out working outside, and then rain or shine or whatever the weather in Chicago, how the weather is in Chicago.
Yeah.
So there's no protection on my job. Whatever danger I face, that's on my own. it doesn't make sense. So I had to back out, and I knew it. I mean, I will just gotta find another job. In the meantime, no job, but I was able to find other gigs, and after I quit, so I was pretty lucky in that sense, I would say.
Yeah, I think anytime that you work for a company, number one, that bounces your paycheck, that's not a good sign.
No.
And then number two is trying to use these other kind of backdoor forms of payment to maybe skirt the paper trail a little bit. Yeah, you got to start wondering, why is this so different than any other place I've been? What are they trying to hide? And you mentioned the name Credico, which is a very, very infamous name amongst people who know these businesses. Where did you learn that name from? When did you learn Credico and maybe found out a little bit about who they were? Was it at the Top Gun event, or did you learn more about, or did you at least know what Credico was before then?
I didn't really have much idea, but I had some doubt even before the Top Gun event. I was talking to one of my coworkers. We actually worked, together. She actually got into the business a couple months earlier than myself, and I asked her a few questions like, "How do you feel about the business? How do you feel about the owner?" And then she was like, "You know what? I'm miserable." Like when I heard that, I was like, "Okay, well." That's interesting. And let me ask you, like, how you doing with everything? It's like, sometimes like the owner will compensate us, like, hey, if we actually able to qualify like an upgrade and we have like qualification, it's like the phone is actually free for the customer, but if you try to sell them the upgrades, they have to pay for it with the cash. So it's kind of like okay, that's a gimmick. So sometimes the owner will like, hey, there's a bonus. We'll give you like $20, $25 in cash if you actually qualify, like people the upgraded phones and stuff like that. And then like, I was doing quite well, so I will get a bonus. But she will say she will get a bonus, but she will actually use the money to qualify another person. And if the person's qualified, and then she will use that $25 to pay for that person's phone in order to get the commission out of the phone.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, okay, that is some kind of desperation, I would say. It's like you really wanted to earn a commission, and then you pay out of pocket for that.
Yeah.
And I actually had that situation myself too. I pay out of pocket for that person too. Like the person was like, okay, well, I don't want to pay for this upgrade phone, buy a phone I wanted, but like I said, fine, I have this bonus money, I would pay for it. Like I done that. It's like, there's no rule for being on the job, being on the field, whatever that worked, they don't care. And then the thing is, there's no ethics. Some people we had to actually fight with other offices. Like they're also like from the Credico offices. We had to fight with those people, and those people actually will like call you names to try to say, hey, this is my territory, get out. Yeah, it was one girl who I was in her territory. She's like, hey, but I said, well, I'm here first. And she just said, here's my owner. And the owner just called me name, like the B word, and say, you need to get out right now. Like, I was like, why are you so disrespectful? And I don't understand, because that's what we're told, like first come, first serve, and say, well, that's my territory, you just don't, like, I never seen you before, or whatever. Like, it was just a lot of rudeness. Mm-hmm. A lot of the time, like the neighborhoods, people are just unruly, and the people who we work with, I have people who are just like getting out of prison and trying to get a phone and we didn't have a proper document, and then like this person tried to attack me from behind and turn around saying, hey, you're never gonna get a phone if you try to kill me right now. Mm-hmm. I was surprised I have the guts to say those things. Maybe just something in me that I was like, I had to protect myself. And I realized that real quickly, like when you ask me like why I woke up so quickly, like I was putting myself in danger.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why would you not waking up quickly if you're in a dangerous situation? So
Yeah, and that is something you talked about too, because I remember when I was in Smart Circle, I was on the south side of Chicago. Now, granted, I wasn't on the streets; I was in the actual grocery stores, but you could tell just driving through that these are some really poor neighborhoods. These are sometimes just unsafe neighborhoods. And like you said yourself, you were in some of the worst neighborhoods in Chicago, but you were on the street, right? And the
yeah.
gimmick of the free phone, it sounds good, right? Like, so like, but what were some of the, I know you talked a little bit about right now, like some of the dangers that you were involved in, but what were some of the, like the exceptions of the campaign? Like, obviously it's not just a free phone, right? There's something that has to take place in order for you and for Credico to be able to make money off of these people.
I mean, the upgrade forms, I believe the commission, they want people to pretty much like what everybody who qualifies should be getting a upgrade phone. Like there was expectation because you qualify this person and given the free version of that, it's not gonna cut it. First of all, you're not gonna even make an hourly wage by qualified people giving a free phone.
Right.
And secondly, a lot of people are not even having a proper document, and a lot of time our tablet is just not the most technologically advanced device. It was really like a pure poor quality tablet that we had to use, and sometimes like the owner forgot to charge it, and then we had to come back to the office and then like get a new ones, and then just like wasting our time. Like it was just, and then it's like odd chaos, and then like sometimes the documents are not sufficient. You try to qualify, and if you like try to qualify this customer and the customer did not get qualified, it's a waste of our time as well, because it will, it's a lot of, and then sometimes you work by yourself and then try to get people like, wait for me to qualify them, and then you have to, and then sometimes the weather, people didn't want to wait in the cold, in the heat. It's just a lot of things that it's beyond what a person really could do. And I was doing it. I was surprised how well I was doing it, maybe because some experience I had to deal with customer retail and all that stuff, but still it did not really make sense at all for me to even try to handle all this stuff. And then not to mention that we're on the street. And sometimes like if we're not on the public road, we have a police coming to like, or the security from the office building and say, hey, what are you here? And they're not really friendly at all. Like not telling you, hey, just let you know. No, they just tell you leave or they call police on you. I don't have any trouble with the law. I never really want to, so I don't really, like it was just too much to deal with. And I had to also, like, when I was a corporate trainer, I had another person with me, and then pretty much had to try to compete with the other person, like, try to, so that, I mean, it's not saying that I didn't let the person to get a customer. It's just like they say, oh, we had to have a healthy competition, so we had, you need to get more than the other person that you're training. Like it didn't make much sense at all. I was constantly stressed out, and also like the owner told me like, hey, Saturday we have we call the atmosphere, obviously you know what it means. And I would sometimes I have some obligation appointments on Saturday afternoon, and then I would join the atmosphere in the morning. I wake up in the morning, join it. Sometimes we have like the joint atmosphere in the downtown office was, you probably heard some infamous name like Matthew Goodchild's office. We joined those people like their campaigns, and then we have a big atmosphere. And one of the owner from different office, which was a promoting manager for the owner that I work under, say, hey, why don't you, why are you not going on the field today? I said, I have an appointment today. I gotta go. And so what kind of appointment? I said, oh, I have a massage appointment. It's like, why would you think you can go to a massage appointment? Like, what kind of question is that? This is my personal choice. I can go to any appointment or do anything I want on my days off. I'm not supposed to be working on Saturday. I'm just coming out trying to, support the business. So, and then like I was scheduled to go to Japan in September, but I already quit in May actually. But I was like, I have a scheduled trip in September going to Japan. And my owner said, my promoting owner had a kid and just had a baby. And he was away for a couple of weeks. And then all his people were gone. And his senior corporate trainer decided to bounce out, So I just let you know, if you go on a trip, you might have that. I don't want your team to leave and stuff like that. Of course, he didn't want to say, hey, you can't go. But pretty much just saying you can't go.
Yeah. Yeah. He was trying to get you to fear, like if you go on this trip, you'll end up losing your crew. And that's just an element of fear, because obviously if you took that trip, you'd have time to yourself, you'd have time to think, you'd have possibly time for other external influences that don't know what Credico is to talk to you about it. And they obviously don't want that. And especially, you said you went to the leadership conference in Atlanta where you met with a lot of these people. So like you used the word brainwashing already. Returning back to Chicago from that, like how did that conference kind of shape your view of Credico and maybe change your view of what you were doing every day?
To be honest, I feel pretty good at the conference. I met a few people and networking with each other. So it was actually, I wouldn't say like it was, it was like, okay, the brainwashing really it was kind of already like in the cooking before, but I wasn't sure exactly what was, like, I didn't have much of like clarity. But the sense of clarity came after my financial trouble that I was going through with the bank bouncing checks and everything. And under kind of like, I look into more things like when the owner's behavior and his personal life and his financial challenges. And then that's when I realized that, okay, well, that all came together and makes sense. But doing the Top Gun event, it was actually quite interesting, but it did have some red flags, I would say. Like everybody was real pumped, and then the owners are always trying to like, hey, like, this is the best thing ever happened to me. And when I'm in the business, I was like, okay, it just sounds too exciting. It just sounds too exciting for no good reason. I mean, if you're happy with your job, maybe just my personality, I show my excitement, but it's not like I was jumping up and down. Like, remember Tom Cruise jumping up, down, and I'm in love, like that, that kind of thing, when he was in love with Katie Holmes. It almost like Scientology. I was like, I remember that scene when he was on Oprah, and I was like, yep. Excuse me, that looked real similar to what those people are doing.
Yeah, and there's a reason for that. It's because it's the same cult-like mind control in Scientology than at those top leader conferences. Because even if you go on, if you've never been to one, you go on YouTube and look at some of the videos of some of these owners and consultants getting rewarded and lauded. And I mean, you'd think it was the second coming of Christ walking through the Credico conference and honor these people for what they do. It's just it's amazing to see the similarities. Like, and I like how you drew the similarity between Tom Cruise, who is a Scientology nut, and these people who are nuts in themselves, just for a different cult called Credico. And you brought up the name who we've heard about in previous interviews, Matthew Goodchild. What were your impressions of Matt, and maybe how did those impressions differ from your own owner?
I mean, I didn't really talk to him, but he was kind of like, he was actually speaking in the conference. And then he was also, I mean, he recognized me one night because like I went to his office and joined the atmosphere on a Saturday morning. And then he knew that I came from the other office in Chicago. And I mean, but the thing is like, I didn't really network with him because I was networking with other people rather. Like I didn't really, everybody was, it was so funny at the Top Gun event. Everybody was trying to hover around those owners.
Yeah.
And then like trying to ask questions, stuff like that. I kind of was just like, this is real tiring. I mean, but the thing is like nobody went back to their hotel room after like the night. Everybody was at the lobby or like there was a lunch, like a cocktail lunch. And everybody was trying to ask them questions and stuff like that. And then I remember Justin Cobb was there at the Cobb event, and he was acting like he really just like so arrogant. He was like, people ask questions like, this is not a good question, next. I don't understand your question, next. Like, and then those people were just like, okay, we're trying to, people who got rejected to their question was trying to formulate a better wording with like another question and stuff like they're so like nervous and because they just call him like they just got called out saying the question sucked. And I was like, okay, this guy was rude, man. Why would he I was just a little like taken back by people's like attitude. Because just like it's not how humanity should be. Like you don't act like that. Eventually, you have not even met those people before.
Yeah, and people like Justin Cobb and Matt Goodchild, they've been taught that they're essentially better than everybody else because they are these consultants or whatever they are. And I'm not saying that they haven't made money. I'm sure they have, but how many people have you stepped on? How many lives have you screwed to get to where you are? And you're still treating people like they're just these numbers, right? They're just pawns in the scam that you're a part of. And it doesn't really matter how many lives you hurt, how many people you hurt, how many people you embarrass. I mean, what kind of an asshole does that? They ask you a question because you're supposed to be giving them advice and they say, oh, that's not a good question. I mean, Justin, come on, dude. You're
exactly
idiot.
That's how I feel. And I mean, it's just some of the things in the air, like we always think a corporate owner, like somebody who owns company, it will show some respect. It was not really much respect whatsoever if you kind of like just like a little number. And that's why I feel doing the Top Gun event, I didn't feel like they were respecting us. So I think that was actually the biggest thing. I feel a lack of respect. Like if you have given me respect for like job I do, you were probably trying to fetch a venue for me, not working on the street. I believe actually from the other coworker of mine at the time, she told me that they used to have a venue at the Food for Less. That's in the city. Well, they actually had that location in Evanston. This is where they constantly went to qualify people for the phones. But for some reason, the owner lost the venue. Just because there was some kind of like he didn't follow instructions I mean, whatever the reason was, they lost the venue, so they were not welcome to come back to the venue anymore. So they were ending up was okay. Well, they couldn't even have a place, so they just kind of ended like on the street. And the owner wanted me to find other venues. So I went to a couple places that possibly can meet people who could qualify for the phones, like places people usually go shopping in the city. They said that no. They actually like couple of them were like hard no, saying that hey, I know what you guys are doing. You guys just I can't have you guys on my venue. I can't have you guys on my property. Like they knew exactly who we are. I didn't have to introduce myself. I was started like saying my name and then what I do. Like those people say no. Like so I didn't even explain myself. Like I already knew who you are, so please don't come to my property.
Yeah, and I'm sure you're not the first person to have tried to get in there and do that because, the thing about all of these companies, Credico, Smart Circle, Sidcore, is that if one office closes, like I know your owner, I guess his office closed relatively quickly. Um, once he's out, they'll just bring someone else in because it's just a revolving door. They keep brainwashing people. And if they can brainwash you enough to make you think you'll be an owner of your own business and be successful, even though you never make the money that you're supposed to be making when you get to ownership, then, well, if this one guy fails, we'll just get another person in there. And that's how these offices are run, is that even if you make it to owner, they never tell you that over 99% of owners fail within the first year. That's a fact in these businesses, but they don't tell you that. They make it sound like, well, if you get to owner, it's easy. It's easy street. You just kick your feet up, maybe go into the field if you want to make a little bit more money, but you pretty much just sit back and run the meetings and the conference calls, which is a blatant lie, obviously. So yeah, I can understand why people are hesitant of you being by their stores. I mean, I encountered the same thing when I worked for Smart Circle years ago, is that they had these people come in the stores, they sell crappy products, and then once they leave, all those products get returned because they're crap and they don't work right. Probably the same thing with the phones.
The phones were terrible. Like, actually, we had to factory set a lot of people's phones. Sometimes we qualify customer's phone, and that phone, pretty much like in the next minute, the person came back and say, hey, it's not working anymore.
Wow.
So it's like, and then you try to qualify other people in the meantime, try and troubleshoot and be nice about it. Calling customer service on the like Assurance Wireless was a pain in the butt. Never had anybody. I mean, it connect you straight to India, and then those people are not really trying to like make sense to you. I mean, they probably are doing their job right, and whatever, but they're not giving much of a help.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to troubleshoot some people's phones, and I am not tech savvy. I mean, there are so many things by the grace of God, I would say, that I survived, and it doesn't happen all that often. So I was doing God a favor, saying, hey, get out of this business quick, because before that you'll get killed or someone with another. Yeah. Like, yeah, it was, I was actually trying to do a good job for the customer. I know a lot of people are just, they're in the situation, they need a free phone. It's not like they know the business and they don't know. I mean, some people are more vicious, more vulgar, and some people are just living like they don't have much manner, but they just based on their education background. But a lot of people are gray. Like some people like, how I know you guys are working on the street, and they brought us a Dunkin' Donut coffee sometimes, like donuts, and then they say, I know you guys to keep going. You guys are doing good things. They got good people. Like I mean, I generally just there are good people, whatever situation they're in. The good people are good people, and I was impressed by that. So like, but other than that, like, it's just not a very safe environment. Like, not to mention all the violence that's happening now. Thinking back, I was like, you know what? I'm so lucky. I'm truly lucky with my situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's interesting you mentioned there's these people that have nothing to do with what you're doing, bringing you coffee and stuff like that, because offering some type of phones, because in 2022, I mean, back then 2019 still, you pretty much have to have a phone. I mean, even if you don't want to have a phone, you have to.
Right.
And the idea of giving people phones for free, as long as they meet this set of criteria, is a noble cause. But I think a lot of these things that we've heard about, especially with Credico, because Credico is one of the companies that is at the heart of the scam, the charity scams. Those are, if you encounter somebody asking for money for charity, more often than not, it's a Credico company, and they're going to keep that money before they give it to the charity. So they're scamming millions of people through their charity scams. And I think that's the thing, is like getting someone a phone for free who needs it. That's a good thing. Collecting money for charities, that's a great thing. But it's Credico It's these slimy third-party companies who prey off of desperate and innocent people and prey off of charities, that when they get involved, it perverts everything. Like with Smart Circle too. Any services that they offer, or even Sidcore, lowering the energy costs of signing up for green energy. Green energy is a great idea, but once Sidcore and Smart Circle and Credico get in and they screw everything up, then that makes everything worse. So if we could just get rid of these third-party scams that are trying to make money off of everyone and everything, then we would have more of a noble cause. It's just unfortunate that we have these companies like Credico and these people like Justin Cobb and like Matthew Goodchild, who their only motivation in life is to make as much money as possible and to make everybody who doesn't make as much money as them feel as little and as undesirable and as unsuccessful as possible. And I think they get off on that when they can make someone underneath them feel less about themselves. I think that that's something that they enjoy so much. They love that feeling of making other people feel less than themselves, which technically, Rosa, like you mentioned in your message, in their eyes, you're a failure for getting out of this in 2 months. But just like I know when I got out of Smart Circle, that our lives are 1,000% better. Once leaving, you're now gainfully employed and you have all the benefits that a job should give you, that these companies just deny. But I was curious, this was a few years ago. This was before COVID. Now we measure everything pre-COVID, post-COVID. So this was 2019. Why did you feel like you needed to come out and talk about this, number one, now, and especially since it was really only 2 months of your life? It really wasn't even that significant.
I want to let people know that like however desperate you are in some situation, either whether you did not like your job and you want to get out, or people are not thinking clearly when they're trying to get out of the situation. And I really want people to just kind of take the time back. There's so many ways to get employed, into 2020, 2022. I told you, after I got out, I started doing gigs. I found on Craigslist, and they're way more legit than the Smart Social and all the scams that you're in.
And that should tell you something. If you can find legit work on Craigslist and it's more reputable than Credico and this crap, that tells you all you need to know about these companies.
And I made the best connections. So I made some best connection that I had, and then I'm still working with them sometimes, even though I'm full-time working at a financial institute. And then I'm grateful for all the experience. I told I'm a little on the older side, so I told the younger generation that people complain about, hey, I just didn't like this job and that, I had some situation that I can tell you, I can write a book about it, even though it was there for 2 months. But I'm telling you, whatever the situation that you're in, don't feel like that's the worst, because you know what? And then don't also feel like grass is always green on the other side. Take your time, think about, even if you don't like a job, you want to quit, or you try to bounce to another opportunity, think again. Just be smart. Have a clear mind every time you look at a job description on Indeed. Even though it's a real legit search, job search engine, you're just anybody can post their job on Indeed and try to get anybody in the business. So just be smart about it. And also I'm upset to see people who are in the business promoting all the way up to the ownership, and then okay, you have to give up your business because you lost it all. You're financially not in the well situation. And I see people I saw your videos, and I was like, what, it's heartbroken for me to see that, because I mean, it's really like people are getting really deep. And the thing is, like, nobody give you credit for that. You know, you're handing all the way to the end of the journey, and in the end, you're getting nothing. That's, you know, like, it's not like I believe they have sensed those red flags. I believe people feel like, okay, this is not right. But, you know, they are great people. They have good endurance. They have good faith. Because maybe their background, you know, they're being an athlete or being, you know, having a good education that kind of, you know, made you keep going, and you're hanging there, and it wasn't anything truthful at all. Like, just let those people know that it's not a failure. You're not a loser if you just get out. You're not a loser if you just, like, okay, my instinct tells me to leave. Just leave. It's okay. Nobody's gonna judge you. The only person judging you is those people who are just not kind-hearted people. And why would you want to care about those people when you know you're better people than them? Or you just need to believe in yourself, and, you know, you'll find other opportunities. If you have those qualities, you'll make it through the business just a pure scan. That quality can transfer to other jobs that are way more legit than this. So don't be afraid of get out. If you have any doubt, people who are in the business, I still see people who are in that business. I know what exactly doing, and then, you know, people are Target, talking about AT&T. You know, like, I know what they're under. You know, if it's, you know, that's something that's not legit, get out. You know, like, it's. I just want to say, this is America. We have labor law. So you're working like 12 hours and not getting paid. This is not right.
Yeah.
Like, period.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, I don't need to even tell you any other way of just get out, because, you know, if you are not making the hourly wage, and they still using W-2 to kind of tax, you know, take any tax out of your income.
Mm-hmm.
You got to question yourself. That is not right.
Yeah.
Period.